I started talking to somebody that was very sweet, very kind. We have like similar interests. We were similar in terms of like cultural, like I'm Mexican, he was Mexican. And we went on like probably 3 dates before we started talking about our political views. And I shouldn't just like assume, right? Like I just assumed he voted a certain way and his like views were a certain way just because of our background. I was completely wrong.
It's embarrassing. Don't embarrass me, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely wasn't telling anybody that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, he wasn't out in the streets, like, protesting shit, but just some stuff he would say, I was like, oh my God. Overall, there's, like, a lot of buzz and articles going around right now of, like, men are conservatives. Like, and specifically between that range of 18 to 29. Babe, don't cry. But it's like, there is really, like, a big gap. And so it's like, as straight people, as bi people, as women who do, in fact, unfortunately, like men.
Bitch, what I was trying to say is this situation got me so wet and so dry at the same time. Exactly.
What's up, bitches? Welcome back to another episode of So Wet, So Dry. I am one of your hosts, Autumn, like the season. Fiji really wants me to move to Atlanta, and I work in entertainment.
Yes, and I'm your other host, Fiji, like the island, like the water. I'm channeling my inner Harley Quinn right now, and I work in social media and marketing.
If you guys are new here to the podcast, what we do is explore duality through deep diving topics about sex, relationships, identity, all where internet trends and reality collide. We do post polls for every single episode that we do, so make sure you guys are following us on Instagram at So Wet So Dry to be a part of that. You can follow us over there too. We're super active on Instagram and a little bit on TikTok. But whatever you guys are doing right now and whatever platform you're on, please just take a second to subscribe or follow. Give us 5 stars on Spotify or Apple. It really helps, and it takes 5 seconds, so do it.
Yes. For context, this episode was recorded before the events that occurred on July 13th. And today we are talking about political apathy. We are talking about the current state of this political climate and how it's affecting our dating lives. And we're also talking about if it's wrong to date someone with different political views than you. But before we get into that, we have a sponsor for this episode. We want to shout out Taylor Mushrooms.
Yeah, so we're super excited about this. You guys know we like to get like a little high. I mean, Fiji doesn't even smoke like that. I'm trying to cut back on smoking, but she does like these shroom gummies, and I'm really interested in honestly incorporating this into my daily life because I really want to quit weed. But anyways, so Taylor Mushrooms are 100% legal euphoric mushroom gummies delivered straight to your door. Taylor blended a little mushroom extract with a little THC to create a one-of-a-kind feeling. Half of a Taylor gummy will relieve tension and stress, the perfect dose to ease anxiety or ensure a great night of sleep. A full Taylor gummy will deliver a calming, euphoric state of mind, the perfect dose for an outdoor adventure, a chill night in, a vibrant night out, or even turning up the heat with your partner.
Yes, and like Autumn said, guys, I don't smoke weed, but I did find these super calming, super euphoric. I actually found that they made me more creative. I did a little art project on a Monday night, put it on the screen, super cute. But yeah, I took a full one. For me, I was okay. And you guys know, like, I get paranoid. I get stressy when I smoke weed. That's why I don't do it anymore. But I really did find these, like, a nice body high, a nice calm feeling. They kind of gave me, in a weird way, like, a burst of creative energy while still feeling, like, an inner state of calmness. So I really fucked with them. Yes, needed.
Bro.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times I feel like you think about these, like, edible types and you're just, like, going to take a nap or watch a movie. But, like, I know, like, the best part about weed or, like, just that high feeling is that, like, spark of creativity where you're not, like, dead on the couch. Like, you can still function, you know?
Yes. But Taylor Mushrooms is offering 50% off for our first 50 listeners that want to head over to their website, taylor.store. That's TAILOR.store. And yeah, let us know what you guys think of them.
So now we're going to start the episode how we always do, talking about what we're so wet and so dry about in this very moment. So I will go first. I did mention it last week, but I went home to the East Coast to visit with family. And usually when I go home, it's very like everyone's doing their own thing. Like my brother, like his friends, like school, and like my mom's work a lot. So we wanted to like have like a weekend getaway. So we went to Maine. And like I'm always like hating on the East Coast for real, but like I really shouldn't. Like it's so cute. Like I wouldn't want to live there, but there is like a certain energy and like the air quality is so much better than in California. It's like actually insane. But so just like little things like that, I'm like, damn. And like my family's so funny, bro. I know. And the food and like we just laugh so fucking much. And like we're always just like we were in the pool with like all these other families and like why are we just so loud? Like everyone's like watching us like we're a fucking show, bro. I'm just like I can't. But it was like so fun. So I'm just wet about that, and I honestly like miss them, like low key. I'm like, damn, because I was there for 12 days. Like that, usually I go for like a week, but that was like almost 2. So, yeah. Anyways.
Oh, that's so nice. This week I'm so wet. I'm excited to tell Autumn this because I know that it like crosses with your interests. So you know Shannon Beveridge.
Bitchy, yes? What the fuck?
Okay, so she just started dating Becca Moore, I think is her last name. And she's a TikToker that I really like and I've low-key had a crush on.
She's already dating someone else,
Okay, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, but Becca, she's like this like super hot blonde girl. She makes these TikToks about like things that are like for the girls. And she talks like, I don't know, like I just always thought she was like really hot, but obviously she was like straight as fuck because she would always talk about guys. But she just posted, I think it was yesterday on Instagram with Shannon Beveridge, and she was like, turns out I'm actually for the girls. So she's like coming out like with her, and it's just a moment, and I think she's so hot, and I only knew who Shannon was because you're obsessed with, you know, the whole lore with Fletcher and da-da-da-da-da. So I'm like,
I just looked it
crossing. Up. Yeah.
Dude, that is crazy, and like, can I just say, like, she is 10 times hotter to me now that I know she's a lesbian because, like, think about, like, all, like she's the epitome of, like, you would think she's straight. Like, she's femme. Yeah. She looks like a Barbie.
But her personality is, because I always, like, I don't know what it is about, like, blonde girly girls, but, like, sometimes I think they're really hot. But, like, her attitude and her bitchiness, I was like, this bitch is just so hot. And now that she's actually, like, lesbian, bisexual, like, whatever she identifies as, I'm just like, bro, I love her.
I can't wait till she's on the podcast. Shannon has a podcast. Right? Or does Becca too?
And Shannon, yeah, Becca has a podcast too, and Shannon took the cover images for her like podcast and stuff, like photography.
Of course the fuck she did. Fletcher's crying right now.
And Shannon posted a TikTok to the why did I want to say Sydney Sweeney? Sabrina Carpenter song, like our last episode, Please, 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 talking about Becca, because she's like, you know, this is her first queer relationship. Like, please don't embarrass me.
But also, it's because Shannon's had so many failed relationships publicly, bitch. Like, we've all had so many failed relationships, but, like, that's crazy. That's such tea. I didn't even know that. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of, like, upset. Like, I'm like, damn, like, that could have been me, like, whatever. I'm just kidding. Not with Becca, but with Shannon. Okay, what are we doing? I'm like, okay, dry. That's crazy, bitch. I am so dry about just, like, body shaming in general, guys. Like, like, I definitely went home and my family was all like, you, like, definitely gained some weight. And I was like,
bye.
But it's also like it's just like the older generations, like they don't understand that like you just don't say that once.
And if there's one thing about family members, I feel like it's whenever you come home, they have to comment on your body. They have to comment on your body, any new tattoos, any new look. Like they just have to like put it in the air, and it's just like, please, you don't.
And
have to
I'm
do that.
Just like, bro, like it's just like, and also it's like do I feel, like, amazing about my body? No. But I wasn't walking around like, damn, I've gained so much weight, you know? And now it's like they put that in my head. And now I'm like, damn, did I actually? But, like, it's just crazy because I'm always the first to judge myself. And then you get it from someone else. And then you're like, oh, my God, maybe I should be worried about that. But it's just like, I also feel like they just don't get that, like, thickness is, like, good.
It's
Like,
hot.
it's not bad. Like, I don't know. I just feel like my dad wants me to be, like, fucking stick
And
thin.
what I still don't get is like, because I've had family members do the same thing to me, and it's like none of my older family members are super skinny, in shape.
Bro!
No, like, so it's like,
Neither is
okay.
my-
Like,
Okay,
I don't
I'm
come
like-
home and I'm like, oh, like you gained, like what? Like, why do you feel the
Dude.
need to comment? I don't know.
It's, like,
weird.
actually crazy, but
It's also
like,
weird to say, oh, you lost weight. Like, I remember when I went home and lost a bunch of weight, like, that made me uncomfortable, too. Like, you just shouldn't comment on
either
people's
way,
bodies.
either the fuck
Yeah.
way, because I know my sister gets it the other way, where like my dad's always saying like how skinny she looks, and I can see it on her face, like so it's
Yeah.
just like, why do we police other women's bodies fucking
Yeah.
constantly? Why is that the first thing we want to say when we see someone? Like, it's actually fucking wild.
Yeah.
Like, I just
No.
made a huge fucking career move. No one's talking
Right, no
about
one's
that
gonna talk
shit.
about that. Mm-mm.
Anyways, so, but I'm like, that happened like a while ago, so I'm like past it, but I just
Yeah.
want to bring it up because I know it is relatable. Like, I feel like body shaming is just like whack, and like, it's not like so easy just being like, oh, someone said I gained weight, like on the internet, you know?
Right.
But
No, I
I'm
remember-
trying to like just not give a fuck
Not
anymore.
care. Yeah.
Right.
Because there's no need. There's no
Right.
need to comment.
And I know that you guys can like relate to that. Like, everyone can, whatever the body shaming looks like, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's all
please-
fucked up.
Please vote. Yes.
Okay, I'm so dry because last night after we finished recording, I was like, should I go out? Should I not? And one of my best friends, Sean, he was at Bastone, which is this restaurant like in West Midtown, Atlanta, like whatever. And he was like,
and you went.
no, he was gonna go to like his friend's DJ set and he was leaving. So he was like, oh, I'm gonna pick you up on the way, like a Uber double ride. So I'm like trying to get ready real quick, like change my outfit, whatever. And I've been wearing my tall black Current Mood
Yeah, you have.
platforms
You've been wearing them.
because the other ones are like ripping in the heel. Bitch, tell me why I put these on and
No.
the zipper breaks.
No.
The zipper broke and it was stuck. Like, it was halfway up my calf. And like, I have thick calves, okay?
Same.
So I could not get them off. Like, I'm like on FaceTime with Sean, like freaking out. Like, I'm like trying to figure it out. I don't want to wear the other shoes. Whatever. Like, I tried 1,000 times, finally got the zipper down, put on the other broken shoes. So now I'm like, I have no pair of cute like platform boots. They're all fucking broken. So I don't know. I need to get new ones.
Skilled shit,
Right? I
bro.
mean, they've lasted me like 2
They
years.
have. They have.
So I
You're
can't
right.
really complain. But for them to just like break like that, I was wondering why the zipper went on so easy. Like, fuck.
Damn, that's dry as fuck. So, as Fiji said, guys, today we are talking about politics and dating, specifically political apathy, and also people with different political views dating each other. Like, what do we think about that? How do we feel about that? And just, is it wrong to like roll someone out based on their politics completely in general? And I do just want to do a disclaimer. Like, obviously right now, well, maybe not obviously, but right now, the state of our politics is like, honestly, life or death for some people. Like, I know it sounds dramatic, but it's actually so true and so real. And we are not a news source. We are not going to talk about what's specifically going on and the people and all of that. But all I will ask of you guys is, if you're over 18, just please vote and vote against that monster terrorist diplomat.
Yeah.
TRUMP. You
Yeah.
guys know who I'm talking about. So that's all I'm going to say on that. But we are not a news source. We are not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking specifically about, political apathy, and then just how politics affect dating, because it does, and especially the fuck it does right now. So we're going to start with just defining political apathy, just in case anyone doesn't know. But essentially, in political science, political apathy is a lack of interest or apathy towards politics. This includes voter apathy, information apathy, and lack of interest in election, political events, public meetings, and voting. Voter apathy is a lack of interest among voters and in the elections of representative democracies. So the first poll we asked you guys for this episode is, are you experiencing political apathy? And 57% said yes, and 43% said no. So it's pretty split, which we love a split poll, honestly. I feel like it's not so black and white. Like, I definitely am experiencing political apathy to an extent, like when it comes to like more minor elections that like aren't really so minor, but like we've been like conditioned, because I think the government is like actively trying to make people have political apathy.
Yeah.
And so I think I have fallen victim to that a little bit, because it's just like, fuck the system, I don't even want to be a part of it. But I also like have people close to me in my, family and just like really close friends that it's like really, really scary time for them right now. So that has made me like really be a little bit more knowledgeable than usual.
Yeah, it's so hard. I feel like same, like I've definitely been experiencing like political apathy too. Like I think when we were in college and we were at Emerson in Boston, like I literally started as a poly-comm major. Like I wanted to go into politics, and then Trump became president and like all that stuff. And I feel like just like life and like seeing so much bad shit in politics happen, and then also our two options being not great. I mean, obviously like one is better than the other, but like still Biden's giving like money to Israel, and like either way it just feels like the system is fucked. And even if you vote, like it feels like it doesn't really matter, like even though it does. And like if we all really did and we all put more into it, like I think democracy could still work. But the state of the world right now, it's really hard not to feel kind of hopeless about it,
Exactly, because it's like, maybe your individual vote doesn't matter, but it's like your individual vote within a community where everyone's voting, it does matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like but I get it. It's really hard. And like, especially like in Massachusetts, like voting Democrat, I'm always like, okay, like it's gonna win regardless. Like catch me like moving to Florida or something. Well,
I'm in Atlanta, and that's why I'm like, I should register to vote in Georgia.
Bro,
I'm technically still registered in Connecticut, where it's like it does not matter really.
You could make a change, babe.
But like in Georgia, in Atlanta, like I could, so like I probably should switch that. But yeah.
So now we're going to talk about, is political apathy a dating deal breaker for people? Because in the UK, it seems like it might be. So we got this article. This honestly was the inspo for the whole episode. This article from Dazed Digital. And it says 1 in 5 young people think political apathy is a dating deal breaker. New research from Tinder has revealed the importance of politics to young singles in the UK when dating. Their survey shows that a third of UK singles believe it's important that the person they're dating is registered to vote, while 21% have either ended a relationship or would do so if their partner was not politically engaged. Over a third, 36%, say they feel comfortable discussing politics on the first date. In addition, 60% of young singles in the UK believe the person they are dating should respect their political opinions, rising to 65% among young women. And then another stat from Mashable.com, and this is from 2023, where that previous article was from like literally last month. This one says 1 in 4 people on Bumble believe that their partner should be engaged in political or social causes. Bumble additionally found that 33% of women said it's a turn off if someone they're dating isn't aware of current issues. So, this is a little interesting. I feel like I don't necessarily need someone that's ready to like scream from the mountain range about politics, but like I do think like if someone's like, oh, like I'm not involved, or like I choose no sides, like it does kind of just like raise an eyebrow. I'm just kind of like, well, why though? Like this is our world. Like we don't like the system, but like we can't control that, so we need to like do what we can,
Yeah, I will say definitely when I was on dating apps, like if someone had conservative or even moderate in their profile, like I would 100% swipe left. Even if I thought they were like cute or attractive, I was just like, fuck no, like I can't do this, because like they went out of their way to pick that on their profile. Like that's what they believe. I think where it's gotten like a little bit more tricky, and that's why it's interesting, like these stats are from dating apps, where I think it's like easier to kind of judge somebody based off of like what they put in their profile, because you kind of know it's important to them. But where I found like it become different is when I met someone in person, and maybe like some political things or issues came up like at first, but other things didn't until later. Yeah. And then it's a little bit like, oh shit, like this is a little bit more complex. But I would definitely say like on dating apps, 100% I'm judging people based off of their politics.
Yeah. Do you put like liberal on
like yours? 100% I put liberal on mine.
Me too. And it's not like I feel like I just also like to like have as much as I feel passionate about, but it's like the one that it's like, how often do you work out? Like, I'm not putting that. Like, you know what I mean?
Wait, what app has that?
Oh, it doesn't have that on Hinge?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I could have sworn it was like movement or something.
Oh, I don't think, maybe.
Like, they have a lot of fucking
Yeah, they have a
options,
lot
bro.
of stuff. They have like pets. Like, do you want kids? Do you not? I don't think I usually put that.
I don't put that because I'm like, I'm not ready.
Looking for that. But like the politics one, I'm like, no. And I honestly feel like in Atlanta, especially like when I grew up in Connecticut, we were in Boston for college. Like it was much more likely that you're going to come across mostly liberal people in the South.
Right.
However, it's a lot more like moderate to conservative. Like I feel like the liberal people is much more rare. Like I would come across a lot of people, not really girls as much, but like guys where it's like the majority of the guys that I'm swiping left on like moderate or conservative, you know, like 2/3 I would say of the guys I came across on dating apps.
And what about religion? Because I do see Christian a lot, and like I don't know, like it's like hard because I'm not like ruling it out. It just like depends on like how intense or like what type of Christian you are, because like the type of Christians that's like accepting of all people and is like, you know, God loves all of us, like I'm down. But like anything other than that, like I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel you, because it's like on other religions, I'm like I look at it less. Like if they
like
say
I
they're
literally
Hindu or
don't
Buddhist
give a fuck
or whatever, I don't care. But with Christian, and it's just so tricky because, like, honestly, I would probably swipe left, like, depending on what the rest of their profile is giving. And I was actually having a conversation with someone about this recently because I said something along the lines of, like, fuck God. And, like, okay, like, look, guys, I don't personally.
That's crazy, bro. You just offended people.
I know, I really did. I don't personally, like, subscribe to a belief in like a higher power being like a man and organized religion as Christianity. I also want y'all to know that like I went to Jewish school, I went to 2 Catholic schools, I went to 2 Protestant churches. Like I had a lot of religion in my life, so this is not just me like coming out the cuff saying fuck God, whatever. But like because of like the way I was raised in Christianity, I've seen some iffy shit about it, which is why I'm like, it's more just being like, fuck that. But I know I have to be a little bit more careful when I say things sometimes because, like, I have offended people when that wasn't my intention. Because, like, you know, people can believe whatever they want. Not all Christians are bad,
and
whatever.
Like, that's what they believe is, like, what I would call, like, a Christian God. But it's, like, how they think that's the end-all, be-all. No.
Right, because when I'm saying fuck God, like, it's more... Like, it's more like me thinking about, like, Catholic school and all the fucked up shit that went on there and how that, like, caused all the shame, da-da-da. It's not really me being like, oh, fuck your, like, beliefs, you know?
Did someone, like, check you when you said it?
Yeah. A couple people, actually. I'm like, oh, I need
a couple people, actually. I'm screaming, bro. Okay, well, on that note, now we're going to talk about, is political apathy a privilege? But I want to read these 2 quick things before we do that. So basically, this article from Daily Trojan said, is basically this woman talking about her experience. And she said, my friends told me that they didn't care much for political engagement until they saw the fear instilled in their Muslim friends throughout Trump's presidency. Until they witnessed classmates having to drop out of school to take care of relatives because they couldn't afford health care. Being able to go through so much of our daily life without having politics occupy our headspace is a luxury many cannot afford. It means we're secure enough within our status, whether it be social, economic, racial, you name it, that we can live comfortably within the status quo. The truth is, for many, being political is far from choice. It defines their very livelihoods, their very existence. To deny the privilege of our political apathy is to deny them of their struggle. And then this other article from Cosmopolitan said, someone else is talking about their experience. I actually find it so gross when people describe themselves as apolitical, Louisa explains. It's so frustrating because it's something that impacts all of us. There are so many countries around the world where people are not allowed to vote, and it's a privilege to exercise that right. Being apolitical is more of an ick to me than being a Tory, which in
That's
the
what's
UK, I know, I didn't know what it was either, but in the UK, they call conservatives like Tories. They're like, no Tories.
Like a Karen or something.
Bro, literally a conservator, like I don't know, but like, yes, like I was like, damn, that's crazy. So this is super interesting, and I think it's 1000% accurate. Like, I do think that to an extent, having political apathy is a privilege. And like, I can speak from my own experience. I think for me, it is a privilege thing. I, am a white woman, straight presenting. There's not much I really need to worry about in terms of who becomes president and things like that. Like, will minor things affect me? Like, the student loan and the healthcare? Yes, but that's no different than every fucking other person. So, yes, but I also do think that, and we're going to get into this later in the episode, but it's like, so it's kind of like assuming someone's politics based on their background, whether it's race, sexuality, whatever. Like assuming that, a lesbian is obviously liberal, right? But
Right.
no, they're not obviously liberal. So that's when it gets a little tricky. And like some people, like, they are maybe transgender, but like don't fucking care about politics, don't give a fuck about politics. So I don't think it's entirely a privilege thing, but I do think, like, for me personally, like it is, and I think for a lot of other people it is too, but I don't think it's entirely like black or white, like yes it is, no, because there's always like some underlying shit.
Yeah, because it just makes me think, like, again, like when we were in Boston at Emerson, which is like a very expensive school, predominantly white, predominantly like upper middle class to upper class,
Right.
very gay. But like there was a lot of like enthusiasm about being like political and like voting and like using your privilege and like all of those things.
Lot.
And it was almost like, it was really weird because like at the time we were in school, like me and Autumn were like hanging out like there, but then like also hanging out with people who were more like from like Boston and like,
not the Emerson bubble people.
Not the Emerson bubble of people, and people who were black, people who were from the hood, like whatever. And like, it was so weird because they looked at like that culture as like, this is ridiculous, like you guys are like doing too much. Like the guy that I dated at the time was kind of like, it's a privilege for you guys to have so much time to like care and learn about oppression when my day-to-day life is going through this oppression. And so that's where it becomes a little bit like iffy, because I found myself with my ex in conversations about race, because this is a time when like George Floyd and like everything was going on, where I'm like white woman like mansplaining like politics and like oppression to him, but like he's lived it in a way that like I will never know. And so I think like the privilege of knowing like that history and the politics and everything that's going on is due to my education at a higher ed institution, versus like someone who doesn't have access to that education but is still living the real life consequences and kind of has political apathy because the struggle was so high that they don't have time in their brain to also think about how much worse it is outside of their life, I
think you said that so well. And I think like it's a privilege to have the education and the access to like all of the things going on. And exactly, it's like you think about like an immigrant mother that's a single mom. She has 3 kids. Like she doesn't have time to read about fucking politics at night and like be so perfect in her voting and da 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 da. Like it's like, you know what I mean?
And even getting to voting booths and stuff, because like the hours are weird, and like especially in the South and like Midwest and stuff, like they're spread out where it's harder to get to. So it's like voter suppression is still a thing. It's on purpose.
It shouldn't be that hard.
And another thing too, because recently I mentioned in the last episode, like it's been really hard for us to find like articles that we don't have to pay subscriptions for to like, back up our episodes and stuff like that.
That happened to me for this episode a lot.
Exactly. So I texted my dad about it because my dad's like a writer. Like he reads a lot. Like he has a New York Times subscription that I use. And I mentioned this to him and he was like, it's so weird that everything on the right, like conservative, is all free, so easy to access. And everything that's more liberal is all behind a paywall. And I think it is like, that's where the Democratic Party, the Liberal Party does get a little bit of criticism, because like there is kind of like an air of like snobbiness and like money and like access to education and information that blocks out other people. So like that's where it's like, I don't know if political apathy is like the right word, because it's about access. It's not like as much of a choice.
Yeah.
But you know,
totally. It's like, yeah, it's a privilege to learn about it while someone else is like living it. That's what, like, what, how you said that, like, that's literally, that's what I feel like will make it click for people, you know? But like I said, we asked you guys this question: is political apathy a privilege to have? And 86% of y'all said yes, and 14% said no. And like a lot of our polls are, they're never black and white questions.
Yeah.
It's always like yes and no, like literally every single the fuck time. So, and like speaking from I statements again, I do think my political apathy stems from privilege, because I do have the access. I have all of the tools. I have, you know, smart mothers that watch every single fucking debate. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason why I shouldn't know what's going on. And like, I'm someone that's able-bodied, has access to a car, can get to the boat. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
it's
girl,
a difference. Yeah.
Girl. So that's, you know, and I'm sure you guys were speaking from I statements as well. But yeah, and then briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about where the political apathy is coming from. Because like I said, you know, it's the government wants it to happen, you know, and it is common with, you know, younger generations because we hate these systems so much. So this quick excerpt says, the apathy in young people tends to stem from a cynicism of our democratic institutions, when we feel that no candidates represent our interests, are merely a far separated elite, or that our electoral systems are rigged. I too have faced these crossroads. It isn't easy to feel like our voices matter when we are constantly let down by the institutions meant to represent us. I soon realized, however, that our apathy and withdrawal only benefit those in power. Our blank ballots certainly aren't taken as political protest, and our absence facilitates space for misusage. Like, fucking speak facts.
Yeah.
Bro. I love that sentence. Taking the time out of our day to exercise our democratic rights, no, our democratic responsibility, still remains the better decision. Our flawed democratic institutions are exactly why we cannot skip out on going to those ballots. At least then we can have a say in holding those in power accountable and demand them to do better. So I love that. Like, I love that so much, but I also just think it's so true, like, especially about the part where it's like, you know, is Democrats even really liberal anymore? Like, you know, it's all about capitalism. It's all, you know, at the end of the day. So I think that's what's happening. It's like there's no space, you know, really, because either side is bad, and it's like we're always just choosing the slightly less bad thing. And I don't know. So I think it's valid for people to experience that, but I also think, like, exactly, your blank ballot is definitely not protest. Like, you're really not doing anything. You know, you think your vote doesn't matter and all of that, but like, you're just canceling yourself out, you know?
Right. And if we all actually like did vote, like, it's just so hard, because I feel like so much of politics is like all about like a money game and like who knows who, and like it, like literally our presidents, like we talked about it in the last episode, our president options are so fucking old. Like, everyone is so fucking old, and it's like you need so much money to run. Like, it feels depressing in the sense of like, when are we gonna get like a Gen Z person in office that is like young and understands like our values and all of those things? But like, if we're not participating in the system and we're not at least like counteracting the worst options and like trying to move things forward, then you're not protesting. You're just like being a silent person in what's going on.
Yeah, and when you have a lot of privilege, it's really easy to be you just do nothing. You just continue your life, and that's what happens, you know? And it's really scary, guys. It really is. But so now we're going to transition into kind of a bigger section about what the current state of dating is due to this intense, fucking deadly political climate. So basically, from this site, Inner Body, we pulled that 86% of Democrats are also dating Democrats, and only 5.2% of Democrats are dating Republicans. And then same thing, 84% of Republicans are dating Republicans and only 7% of Republicans are dating Democrats. This question says, would you still enter into a relationship even after finding out the other person has different political views? 67% of men said yes, and 62% of women said yes. So those were just some quick stats kind of about how, like, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like we all meet people where, like, not a lot of political things align. Like, it's not always perfect unless you've, like, done a lot of healing and, like, I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, most people that end up, like, really being together, like, do have the same political views, at least in that set of data. And I was able to access one New York Times article, which is kind of all about, you know, this dating and politics climate. So the board argued that politics is becoming more central to people's identity. And because young women increasingly identify as liberal and young men increasingly identify as conservative, that will lead to a troublesome mismatch of values. At The Atlantic, Adam Sewer argued that the overturning of Roe versus Wade specifically has made dating more political because it affects intimate choices so profoundly. According to Daniel Cox, the director of the Survey Center on American Life at the conservative-leaning American Enterprise Institute, Gen Z men are less likely to say that they are feminists than millennial men. The Post relied in part on data from the Survey Center on American Life to make its case. So we're going to talk about this a lot throughout the episode, how, like, most men lean conservative and most women lean fucking liberal. And, like, you know, obviously for lesbians, it's fucking fantastic. But for straight people, like, that's rough. Or bisexual people like us, bisexual fucking baddies like us. So it's definitely scary. And so much that the New York Times is covering it. And this article was not from that long ago. Like, and we're going to get into, like, so much of, like, how people feel. But I just want to talk first about, like, really, like, what the state of dating is and, like, the state of politics. Because, like, that first sentence, it's like politics is becoming more central to people's identity. It's not just like, oh, Democrat this, Democrat that. Like, we didn't even used to put that on dating profiles. But now it's, like, so important. And I'm sure the dating apps found that through surveys, like, people really caring about their partner's political identity. So it's just insane that, like, it just affects everything, you know?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that in other episodes too, like the male loneliness epidemic and some of our ones about gender, about, like, how men are leading so far conservative and, like, incels and, like, all of that. And, like, I think it has a lot to do with, like, the algorithms. I mean, we know Trump, like, messed with the election to sway voters or whatever with social media and all of those things. But I think it's like, men are targeted in a certain way and go down these rabbit holes based off of gender. And it's just really scary because when we talk about, like, the gender wars and all of that stuff going on, a lot of it comes back to politics and things that are, like, very crucial to women's identities. I mean, like, the right to have an abortion, like how can you be with a partner who's like, no, I don't believe in abortion, and then you get pregnant? Like, what are you going to do? And I think women are just more and more like, I don't want to be anywhere near that position, especially in my intimate relationship. Like, it's already difficult enough in the current state of the world that I don't want to bring that to my love life as well, you know?
Yeah. And it just sucks because I think about, like, literally when I had my abortion and I, like, called my ex to tell him, like, I'm pregnant, like, LOL. He, like, we had never talked about anything like that. So it's like, thank God he was like, okay, because I was like, this is what I'm doing, like, before he could even speak.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, and it's like, I feel like I've had this tendency to just, like, not bring it up, which is also, like, reeking of, like, you know, privilege and, like, silence is violence and all that shit. So, like, and it's hard. It's not easy. Like, you really like someone and you're like, fuck, I never asked them about this political issue. Like, it sucks we have to even think about that. But it is, like, it doesn't sit right with you. Like, especially if it directly affects your identity. Like, I can't be with someone that doesn't think, like, lesbian is real, you know? Like, 'cause there's literally men that just, like, don't think it's real. Like, you know, so.
Yeah, no, it's really scary. And also on that infographic before, there's one about arguing about politics with your partner, and 73.1% of all respondents have fought with their significant other about a political matter before. 48.8 of Democrats have, and 38.3 of Republicans. And I feel like doesn't really, I mean, I guess it makes sense if you add 48 plus 38, but that's a lot of people that are arguing. And I know, like, just family members and stuff like that could be in the same party have argued about, you know, certain political matters. Like, I'm thinking, like, when I think about, like, my family and stuff, it's mostly like, oh, you're socially liberal, economically conservative, or something like that. Like, I hear that statement a lot in, like, Gen X, which I think, like, our generation, Gen Z, is much more aligned on the concept of, like, capitalism, and that the economics of, like, affect the social issues, like, so much. But I've seen, like, you know, I feel like it's specifically between men and women, where even if they're both liberal, Democrats, whatever, they might get into issues about, like, Me Too, or, like, you know, rape culture, or certain, like, feminist things that men still have a harder time comprehending. So, like, I think that's really real, and it's hard. It's so hard because it's like, part of me feels like there's never going to be any change unless it's in those interpersonal relationships. So it's good to have those debates, and, like, you know, I think it's good if, like, you and your partner are aligned on, like, enough things. I don't know. I'm a little bit iffy on this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to be perfect. Like, you know, in a dream situation, I guess it would be, but, like, is that pessimistic? But I also think, like, speaking as a lesbian, like, I have, like, a hard time saying that because I know it can be perfect. I've seen it.
But you've also had lesbian relationships that were very far from perfect in political views. And it makes it more complex when you bring in objects of identity. Because, I mean, are we going to talk about that in a little bit, though? Like, dating? Like, when it's, like, you're kind of on the same side, but, like, your identity and stuff. I think we're going to get into that in a little bit, right? Yeah, okay, yeah.
All right, so talking more about the climate, this article we're going to reference a lot throughout the episode. I really liked it. It's from Glamour magazine, again, in the UK. And it's called I Don't Date Tories, meaning conservatives, and Why Dating in 2024 is More Political Than Ever for Women. So this excerpt says, political polarization, and especially given the rise of right-wing reactionary discourses waging a war on woke, so on women, LGBT people, racial minorities, feminists, and so on, has made this long-standing practice of screening a date's politics more conscious and explicit, Dr. Hannell explains. She also highlights that young women today are grappling with the backlash to feminism's success with misogynistic figures like He Who Shall Not Be Named and Jordan Peterson looming large in the popular imagination. Seeking broad political compatibility is one strategy that young women can use to mitigate risk and vulnerability in their romantic and sexual relationships, she says. So I just wanted to include it because it's like, honestly, like, we are grappling with, like, the fact of that feminism shit and, like, how we're kind of going backwards. Like, there's just so much going on, and I just think it's interesting. It's like being with someone that aligns with your politics is, like, a way to, like, eliminate risk in a relationship. It's just, like, crazy.
And it's crazy that it says broad political compatibility is one strategy, because I feel like, guys, I feel like it has to be fucking broad. And that's the scary ass thing, because when we talk about so many men are going towards the right or developing more right conservative beliefs, I feel like I've cut people off that I've went on dates with recently that I'm like, their views were too, fuck no, I'm not going to do that. But, like, most of the people, it's like, it still had to be, like, a broad acceptance of shit, because it was, like, on the, like, surface level, everything we, like, agree on, and, like, how to treat people, like, all of those things. But when you get a couple, like, peel the layers back, it becomes a little bit like, what the fuck? But it's like, I don't know.
Right, because we're saying the word politics, and it is politics, but at the end of the day, it's like, the shit that matters most to people is really, like, the core values and morals, and, like, not having hate towards groups of people.
And human rights and, like, social issues.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, and it's like, that extends beyond politics for everyone, you know? So that's why I think it's so intense. And to talk more about the gap between men and women and, like, the opposing views in terms of gender, The same article from Mashable said a recent Gallup poll found that only 25% of U.S. men between the ages of 18 and 29 identify as political liberal. Meanwhile, 40% of women within that range do. Another survey from 2023 conducted by Change Research echoed this sentiment with its overarching findings. Young women and transgender and non-binary people lean much further left than men. This set of research took into consideration modern political issues in the U.S., including Donald Trump's presidency and the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And overall, there's like a lot of buzz and articles going around right now of like men are conservatives, like, and specifically between that range of 18 to 29, babe, don't cry. But it's like there is really like a big gap. And so it's like as straight people, as bi people, as women who do in fact, unfortunately, like men, like what are the odds are not, they all suck already. And now it's like, you know, like.
And this is why, guys, like, because I think when we started this podcast, we were like 100% like we're for women and queer people. And then through doing it, like we started to bring up more issues around men because it's like once we got into the data, like this is terrifying because I think we think, oh, Gen Z is going to like fix this country. Like the younger people, they're going to fix it. But like only 25% of men between the ages of 18 and 29, between the ages of 18 and 29 lean politically liberal. Like that is so scary. And I feel like I don't know what to do about it, honestly. And I think that's why we're getting like the 4B movement and boy sober and women like completely cutting men out because we're so fucking mentally drained and exhausted and having conversations with men about how like, oh, like our body, our choice. Oh, like transgender people are a thing. Oh, like homophobia, like whatever. But I like that stresses me out so much. And I feel like we've done so much in terms of like feminism and like I want us to keep going there. But I almost feel like the next chapter of feminism is something with like a fucking come to Jesus moment with like men. Like there needs to be something like we need to include them because we're losing them and like they still have the power and it's about to get terrifying. Like I don't know.
We're losing them. I know because everyone does say like, oh, Gen Z is going to fix everything. But it's like really just the women and the gays at this point. Like we're missing like straight men Gen Z are not really changing, you know, overall, you know. So this TikTok we found kind of echoes this whole thing, so let's watch it.
By now, everyone has seen or heard of the fact that conservative men are struggling and dating in this political climate. Here's a fucking thought. Change your mind. Be open to changing your mind. It's not that deep. I know mommy and daddy will be very upset if you so much as open your mind even slightly, but it's okay. So here's a couple of takes on this. Number one, there's a lot of girls stitching saying if that they see that a man is conservative on a dating app, it's a double right. And I have a one up on that. If I see if a man is a double C, I call it a double hit, a Christian conservative, fuck no. Because that doesn't happen overnight. That goes to show me that you come from a long line of Christian nationalists who are on board with Project 2025. That's immediately what I jump to. That tells me it's not just you, it's me. Because we would not get along. I would open my mouth and you'd be leaving the dining room table. It's all right. We'll just move along. Number two, these men don't even know what they believe. They don't even know what they believe. I saw a quote the other day, can't even remember where I heard it, but it was someone saying that there's a difference between what you are taught and what you believe. And I find that through and through with these conservative men. These conservative men oftentimes have no idea what they even believe in, because I no longer argue with people on either far side of the aisle because they're just too far gone. So what I do is ask why? Why? What policies, what procedures, what evidence suggests that that was a good move have you found? That that's a good reason to do that? And they can never answer me. They can never answer me. Or the answer is solely lied in hating on the other side. So when you ask a conservative man about a policy and he talks about, well, fucking Joe Biden, fuck Joe Biden. I'm like, okay, yup. Joe Biden's a war criminal. Like, we get that. Like, he needs to be impeached. He doesn't even know where he is. He just Roombas around. We get it. But what will your side do to fix that? All of it. Always Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Hillary Clinton. Like, can we just fucking get over that? My God. Oh, and Obama too. They love that. But if your political opinion doesn't lie in research and or you can't back it up, come correct, stand on business with your political opinion, and or it lies in hating the other side, your political opinion is null and void to me. You literally, like, you don't even have a political opinion to me. You don't even get to have a political opinion. They're that political alliance because it is the alpha male thing to do. It is beta to be a liberal man. It is rooted in hating and control of women. And that is the only thing that they have to hold on to in that political alliance. Women are going to have political opinions. We're going to have strong ones. It's not the 1950s no longer, bruv. No longer. And I will not shut my mouth. I will never shut my mouth. And I will absolutely not shut my mouth for a man. We are out here begging men to take a look in the mirror, and they are not, and they will not. And this loneliness epidemic that your dick's not getting wet every other day is going to grow, okay? It's only going to get worse because we are going to shut this shit down. We're going to shut these legs for further business, okay? So you better get with it or get the fuck out because you're going to get lonelier and lonelier as a product of your own design.
Like, okay.
Like, bro, like, the fact that she said when you ask why, and that they're always like,
it's
hating on the liberals or Joe Biden, or just like not having research or any facts, it's all just lies. Like, that is like,
it's so true.
So real. And it's just like, and that's the thing, because like I've had these conversations with men, multiple men in my life, like not just like guys I've dated, like family members, guy friends, like whatever. And you're literally sitting there like being completely fucking gaslit. And I think the hard thing too is like, as a woman, like, I don't know, when it comes to politics, like I am not, like, I get heated about shit. But, like, I've tried to, like, listen to certain people more and be like, okay, like, let me at least wait to talk until I have an open moment to completely fucking squash whatever the fuck you're saying because it's wrong. And I know because I do my research. But, like, they don't, like, they cannot listen. Like, I feel like men, like, are in this, and it's the alpha man shit that she said, too. Like, it's them feeling like, oh, no, I'm the man. I have to lead, so I know better. So, like, you could not possibly educate me about something. Like, it's these levels of just, like, complete bullshit where you're talking to them and you're like, I'm not talking to, like, a person that knows anything. And then you look at, like, the whatever podcast or fucking He Who Shall Not Be Named, like their whole thing, and they have these women on the podcast to like grill and ask the hard questions and like, can you back it up? But how many times does a woman literally bring up facts and literally bring shit up and they'll be like, but where are the facts though? But where are the facts though? Like they're not even capable of like participating in an actual like debate or conversation. And it's like, it's so, I don't know, it's so exhausting. I don't know, guys. But I also still want to be fucked. Like
Exactly. And that's when she full circled it at the end and was like, I'm going to close my legs. And that's where all this celibacy, like you said, the 4B, the voiceover, like all that shit comes into play. And like, that's how it affects dating. And it's like, it really sucks. It really does. Like, it's hard. But at the same time, it's like, we're battling as women, like this inner like value system of like, what does that say about me if I'm with someone that believes this horrible shit about women or horrible shit about whoever? And it's like, it's just not fun. And it's like, we know that we still have to talk to those people. Like, I feel like I've gotten to the point where I used to just be like, oh, if that person, I know it's a Republican, just like avoid them like the fucking plague. But I know just like we have to bring men into the conversation, like we can't just completely polarize things. But at the same time, it's like these people are like killing people and are like okay with it. And it's just like,
more than that, like, what do you do when they don't want to join the conversation? And I think that's like the most frustrating thing, because I think like a lot of women are like ready and able to sit down and be like, okay, like you believe these things because you're a man, you're a white man from here, you're a black man from here, you came from this background, whatever, you think you're alpha, but like, let's have a real conversation about this. And I feel like, I don't know if it's the alpha man shit or like that they've been so fucking brainwashed by these ideas, but like so many men have a hard time even like sitting down, listening and engaging before they feel like attacked and like all of that. And that's where it becomes like, And I feel like it's so much of a thing on the conservative side for them to be like, oh, well, like, you don't even, like, listen, like, you're not open, you just cut people off, like, you just whatever. What I feel like realistically, like, most people that I know in my everyday life, like, would sit and have a conversation with someone. If they say something that is, like, crossing the line
Right.
of hatred, violence, all of that, the conversation's over. It's not happening. But I think conservatives, like, get that mixed up where they're,
Right.
like, completely missing the point in between, like, a conversation that is, like, healthy and meant to, like, grow our feminism or grow our beliefs or, like, whatever, incorporate men into the conversation versus just, like, when it's being shut down, it's because you crossed the line of something that's just too hateful. But, like, we can
Right.
still have conversations.
And this is like bringing it up to like what you said at the beginning about like how much change can really be done in those interpersonal relationships. Cause it's like for a man that's like unable to sit down and listen, it's like he needs to hear it from someone that he like already loves and trusts. And like 9 times out of 10, like it's not his wife, it's another fucking
It's
man.
a man.
So it's just like, what are we to do? And like, also, I low-key feel like it's a man of like their same, like maybe race or like economic status.
Well, and that's like the thing. Like, I've brought it up, mentioned it before, but like most of the men that I've dated like recently are black men. And then it comes to this issue of like, they're going to bring up, oh, well, you don't understand what it's like to be a black person in America. And I don't, and I never will. And then that ends the conversation. And it's like, I'm not the person that should probably be having this conversation with you.
But
then
no one is.
But what type of white woman am I to be with still a man, regardless of race, who is looking against like people that I care about and their other identities or whatever? Like, it becomes so complicated. But I do think like, I don't know, like I look forward to the day that like us as a podcast or something can collaborate with men who do have like good voice. Because I'm really like looking for the next fucking male influencer, next like that's gonna change this shit, you know, because like
Someone
it's terrifying.
could, like, I literally, like, you get a fucking average-looking white dude on TikTok, and he's just like, you know what? Women should dress how they want to dress. And it literally gets, like, 5 million fucking
But it
likes.
needs to be someone that appeals to the male gaze, because I feel like it's
Right.
like guys, like they, you know how when it's like women think this type of guy is hot and men look up to this type of guy, and it's usually like a super muscular, like fucking firefighter dude, like whatever. Like, we need some fucking dude that like lifts tons of weights and like has a really hot girl or like whatever and is like preaching this shit. Because I mean, I don't know, because Andrew Tate, which, sorry for saying his name, is not a hot man.
Fiji,
Like,
it's not sorry for saying his name. We're bleeping it.
okay, we're bleeping it out. But like, he's not an attractive man. Donald Trump is not a fucking
So,
hot
like,
man. So like, I think, and that's why it's like, is the core of what men look up to misogyny? Like, is it just that rash inability to like be patriarchal and not listen?
They're like, bro, we have so much in common. Like, I hate women too. Like, literally.
I will literally, like, if there's a man listening that you think you're
Just
the
one
one to
man.
go up against this type of stuff, I will help you. I will help market you. Like, I will use my marketing skills to help you, because I really be looking for them. Like, I'm like, where are the guys that, like, the non whatever percent of that, the 25% that are liberal, they need to stand the fuck up. I don't know.
It's time. It's fucking time. And I want to talk a little bit more kind of on this idea of like people automatically like swiping left or like ruling someone out because of their politics. So in this Cosmopolitan article, it says truth, nuance, and debate are the casualties of social media platforms. So it's not surprising that the divide between people who support different political parties feels like it has deepened. Differing political opinions can lead to heated arguments and conflict, straining relationships. This is especially true in polarized environments where political views are deeply held and emotionally charged. The amplification of difference is having an impact on all of our relationships when the first thing you always do is find the common ground. So it's just, you know, talking more about like the state of our world and how it is emotionally charged. It's not just like, oh, like, you know, should you recycle or not, which I know that's very important too, but like people's lives are a little bit more important, I would argue. So it's just very like intense right now. And I don't know, like, because even hearing you say it's like, I do want to hear someone out. So it's like, why wouldn't you hear out someone on Hinge? that is.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's like, to me, I look at it as a conscious decision. Like, you thought about it, you press that button, you put it on your profile. It's something that you care about.
Right.
So I'm like, versus if you didn't put it on your profile and then we go on a date and I find you have certain views, then maybe it's time for me to like hear you out a little bit more. But if you made the conscious decision to like associate yourself with that, then I'm kind of like, no. But there was the polarized, like the like openness for debate. Like, I think it's also like, again, the political climate right now, and when you look at like Trump and Joe Biden like having a debate, like they're arguing over their fucking golf swings. Like, it has become like so low level, and like Trump was not even able to answer a single question about policy without just like attacking Biden for his mental capacity, which like
Just
I get,
like the
like it's not
conservatives
there.
do.
Right, his mental capacity, like, okay, like you got it, like it's not great, but like still, like, what is your policy though? But yeah, like, I don't know, like
It doesn't make you look good to win against someone that's clearly incapable as well. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why he's so on his high fucking horse.
Right, like the options
the
here, we
bar
have
is
two
so-
80-year-old men. Like, let's be so fucking for real. But I will say, like, I know for me, like, I've always been the type of person where, like, if anything, like, hits me in like a slight trigger, political stuff, like with my family, I've gotten into super heated arguments, and they're not conservatives, they're not like whatever, but like on like little, I would say little things, but things that were big to me. And I do think, like, I know with myself, like, I have a habit of getting like very like emotional and passionate and heated about it. And I've realized that, like, I do need to, like, manage that and tone it down and, like, be in the space to have conversations, because it doesn't help. You know what I'm saying? And I would love if the men that I'm usually arguing with, like, would do the same, which I don't think they always do. But, like, for me and, like, my ability to, like, get my point across when I'm talking to people like that, I do know that, like, I don't know, like, whenever you get, and it's hard because, like, when we're talking about these are things that directly affect our identities, people we love, like, people's literal human rights. So it's hard not to get, like, fucking emotional. And for someone to be like, oh, you're getting too emotional and worked up, like, see, like, you don't even have facts, is, like, so beyond frustrating. But, like, I do think, like, if you have, like, a partner where, like, your views are, like, a little iffy, or, like, on a date, like, maybe tabling it to find the right time when you're both in like an even temperament. Because, like, you know, you could be dating someone for 3 years and then 2016 happens and Trump happens, and then none of these things came up before then because you had the privilege to not. Like, these things do happen, and I do think, like, being in the right mental space to be ready for that conversation is huge.
What's up, guys? Aldo here with PragerU. Today, I'm in Westwood, California, asking people if they would date someone with different political beliefs. Let's go find out. How would you describe yourself politically?
Probably lean liberal, Democrat.
I'm like in the middle.
Yeah, pretty much in the middle.
Just centrist, yeah.
I don't like to put myself in a category. Honestly, I would say neither.
Independent.
I'm against the two-party system.
I'd say I'm in the middle.
Democrat.
Democrat.
Would you ever date someone with different political views?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would.
Why?
I think it's important to be open.
I feel it would be interesting to have somebody who actually has different views than my own.
I think I would date somebody with different views on like economy issues, but I don't know if I would date someone with like different views on like some social politics.
You know, there's a lot of people who make politics their personality. As long as that's not the case, you know, I don't really have an issue with it.
Maybe I wouldn't marry them, but I would date them.
I think it's hard to build a relationship that's going to be very serious towards marriage if it's too different.
Are you guys dating?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're engaged.
Are you dating right now?
I am.
And do you guys share same political views?
Pretty much, yeah.
Do you guys align politically?
For the most part, yeah.
I would say so.
Do you think dating someone with different political views makes it harder or easier?
I feel like it would make it harder, especially if your family has the same political views. So like introducing people to your family might become more difficult.
It all depends on how much you're willing to compromise.
When you think of a liberal man, what kind of man do you picture?
A normal person.
What do you think?
Like, I have a view for like conservative men, I feel like, but not liberal. I don't know what they would look like.
What does a conservative man look like?
Like a lot of like trucker hats and like country clothes, or like old white men.
What values do you attribute to conservatives?
Racism, fascism, religious zealot. As much as they call themselves conservative, they're pretty bad with money and financial responsibilities.
Okay.
I think he covered all the bases.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, full disclosure, I'm a conservative. I think I'm pretty good with money, you know?
I just love these types of videos, honestly, because it's like so real. Like, we read about so many surveys online, but you don't know like who the people are. But it's like literally like that's the shit that we want to do. Like, if we were together, just like go out on the street and like ask like real people these questions. But I did think it's really interesting that like almost everyone said they would date someone.
Right.
And then with opposite political views, but then that one woman was like, but if it's anything social issues related, like,
then
I'm
no.
good. And then that one bitch was like, I wouldn't marry someone though. And because that's what I think, like, those long-term connections where you have the same values, like you want to grow and build together, like you kind of need to see eye to eye on shit. Like you just do. Like, you don't, but like it makes for an easier fucking life if you do, bro. Like, I need to stop saying bro, but yeah.
Yeah, especially when it comes into like if you're getting married and then you're sharing finances and those types of things. And like for me, like I never really wanted kids in the past, but now I'm coming to the age where I'm like, maybe I do in the future, not right now, I don't know. But like even more so if you're gonna have kids together, because like your kid could be trans, like your kid could be gay, like your kid like whatever, and they're gonna engage in this whole other world. And I would want the person that I'm with to be able to like educate them and break things down in a way that like, you know, I don't want them to get like some crazy ass shit from their like father, mother, like whatever. But yeah, I do feel like it is more people. I mean, honestly, for me, I feel like I've become more, and I'm hesitant to say in the middle because like I feel like I am very, very liberal, but there's certain liberal views that I've developed more to be like more empathetic towards like, I think men. And also like dating someone like I talked about earlier where it's like real life experience and like survival versus like when you're in an educational institution and you're reading shit and like breaking it down. Like that experience for me caused me, I think, to just look at things so much differently because I'm like, okay, like I before would see gay person liberal, black person liberal, must be immigrant, must be liberal. Like, you know, you would think that, but then in my like adulthood, especially in Atlanta, that is not the case like whatsoever. Like I was telling Autumn like off camera, like most of the people that I know in Atlanta that are black are for Trump. Like a lot of people, not all of them, but a good majority. And that is something I would have never thought when I was in Boston. But like, we need to acknowledge that, and we can't just like put people in groups based off of their identity. So it does become like so complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a two-party system. Like, I don't know.
I know, and we are going to talk about that more later. But I know, and it's always like even what you said, it's like, you want to lean further away from Democrat, but at the same time, it's like, you know that like right now being independent, you don't really have any power. Like, what do you mean?
It's always been like that.
Like, who's like, that's basically like doing nothing. So it's really hard. I know,
Yeah.
But I want to read off some more stats about this. So the same Cosmopolitan article said, the political climate seems more inflammatory than ever before. Research by Match found that while in 2015, 78% of singles said that they would date someone across the political aisle, this plummeted to 52% in 2019, showing a 26% decrease in political tolerance. Elsewhere, new research by HAP found that a third of Gen Z daters would even go as far as ending a relationship based on partners' vote in the 2024 general election. And from Glamour, they said different political beliefs are increasingly a dating deal breaker, especially in light of the looming general election. This Tinder survey found that 71% of Gen Z said that they wouldn't date someone with different political views to their own, while separate research published by YouGov found that women are less likely to be open to dating across the political divide. So yeah, like basically in contrast to that YouTube video, but it's like most people like really don't want to date someone seriously, like fall in love with someone, like go on a dating app to find a relationship. They want to be politically aligned. And I think it's like just like what we said before, it's like lightening the risk in the relationship. Like, it's like there's already so many hurdles to go through. Like, you might as well, like, let's at least be aligned in our fucking values.
And I feel like, again, like all these surveys being from like dating apps where you can judge someone much more off of like this information, it's just so hard. But then when you're in real life and you're asking these people, the results are so much different. And like,
right.
I feel like it still comes down, like when people meet and they have pheromones and they have chemistry and they have this, that, and the other thing, like that complicates it so much more than like the state of dating online and stuff like that. So part of me is like, we have to take these with like a grain of salt almost, because like I completely agree that I would swipe left on dating apps. Like in person, I feel like it's a different story, because then you're engaging with a whole complex human being,
not just a fucking photo,
not just boxes, because most people do not fit into these clear-cut boxes of what we think of when we think like, you know, conservative man. We think old white dude with a beard that drives a tractor and like is racist and fucking and Christian.
And you
like,
think about liberal, you think about a young me running around in the street with their top off and armpit hair, bro, like braiding it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we asked you guys, can you date someone whose politics are completely different from your own? 59% said no, 28% said I'm not sure, and only 14% said yes. So most people are not fucking with it, including our listeners.
Yeah, I feel like completely different. It's a no. Like I could never see myself being with like a fucking influencer for like the conservative side. Like imagine a dude with a podcast that's like completely opposite of us. Like could not do that. I think I could date someone with political views that are different than mine, as long as we align on the core things and they show an openness to hearing my side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. I have done this before. I've dated a woman that voted differently than me, lesbian woman, ... And then I've dated a black man that did not really see eye to eye a lot on things too. So I feel like it would be wrong for me to be like, no, because I literally the mother of the fuck have, bro. Like straight up I have. And it's tough. Now would I? I feel like I've honestly been scarred twice that I think I'm more likely to really not do that again. I think I just realized, like, especially like I'm not really trying to fuck around anymore. Like I do want to fuck people and have consistent sex, and like maybe something short term would be cute, but like at the end of the day, if I'm going to see someone, like it's not just for fun anymore. Like I want to like maybe try to be with them long term, like non-monogamy or not.
Oh, this is a change. This is a change.
Well, because like I'm like, babe, like yeah,
it's
like,
been time.
Yeah, like I know. And that's why I'm also like anti-dating right now, because it's like so serious, bro. Like it has to be someone incredible.
We're getting into our late 20s, early 30s. Like we're not quite there yet, but it is more serious. Like I think like us going into dating now, like thinking about spending your time, like giving up your alone time, all of that stuff for someone is like way bigger than when we were in college. So like it makes sense.
Emphasis on giving up your alone time, but yeah, I don't know. I think I just wanted to say too, like, I think looking at both of those relationships, like, it was a big reason why it just didn't work, you know? It's like, it's just hard. Like, and I was with that man for 3 years, you know what I mean? Like, it's embarrassing. Don't embarrass me, motherfucker. Like, I definitely wasn't telling anybody that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, he wasn't out in the streets, like, protesting shit, but just some stuff he would say, I was like, oh, my God. Like, if someone I knew was here right now, like I would be, like, very fucking embarrassed for you and for me. So, but, yeah, we're not with him anymore, guys. And I really do think, like, moving forward, like, I don't want to mess around with that shit anymore. It's too much. It's too much. Yeah. There's already so much to fight about, so.
Yeah, and especially, like, if they're going to get, like, heated and be crazy about it and stuff. Like, again, like, the importance of like having debates or like intellectual conversations and hearing another person out, listening to their stuff, like whatever. But if the person is just solid in their shit, they're not going to change, then it's like, what's the point, you know?
Right. So sharing some more stories, BuzzFeed asked their viewers if they would date someone with a different political view than them. And someone said, nope, I honestly don't think I could trust someone who's neutral, because how will I, a woman of color, feel comfortable around someone who's neutral about things that affect me as both a woman and a person of color? Someone else said, not in a million years. I met my wife online, and one reason was that we both wanted to get the deal breakers out of the way before devoting our time to anyone IRL. Your politics are so much more than a word on paper. What we call politics speaks volumes about who you are and what matters to you. Someone else said, political party in and of itself probably doesn't matter. It's their values that count. I'm a male, and I would advise other men not to get involved with progressive liberal women or strong feminists if they want peace in their lives. Find an agreeable conservative woman.
It gets worse.
Treat her with great respect and value her opinions and perspectives, and you will have a much easier, happier life. And that was someone named Glenn, and that man is 55 years old. And then this last one said, I'm gay, non-binary, neurodivergent, and disabled. Those things do not coexist well with the opposing political party. Plus, gay Republicans confuse the hell out of me. Same, bitch. Why would you support a party that's currently trying to get your existence banned? Yeah. I will never know.
like literally, and that's how I feel like dating like black men that are for Trump. I'm like, are we like so... All right. Okay, you can just have it. You can have it. Like, I don't know what the fuck to say to you right now.
Yeah, so that's a whole different episode for real, because like it is real, and there is a TikTok about this. Like, honestly, let's just fucking play it now, bitch. So basically, real quick, let's talk about assuming political views based on backgrounds, race, sexuality, and etc. So this TikTok, God love this girl. She talks so slow. So we need to speed this up and edit, but just brace yourself. I mean, she's so pretty and smart, but I'm like, it's kind of a lot.
Okay.
I just watched this video of another creator. I couldn't search his video. But he basically breaks down his belief of like understanding the moral compass of the individual that you're talking to or like planning to date before you get into a serious relationship. It's so easy that we can go on like the first, second, third date and not really understand like the person's like what they think is right from wrong. What are their political views? That's a big one. What are like their religious views? I started talking to somebody that was very sweet, very kind. We have like similar interests. We were similar in terms of like cultural. Like I'm Mexican, he was Mexican. And we went on like probably 3 dates before we started talking about our political views. And me, I shouldn't just like assume, right? Like I just assumed he voted a certain way and his like views were a certain way just because of our background. I was completely wrong. Once we started talking about that whole subject, I was like, oh, this might be a problem. And he started kind of trying to convince me that it didn't matter. Like he was trying to say that politics isn't everything. It shouldn't determine like your relationship. But if you think about like the whole criteria, like different subjects when it comes to like politics, it really does matter. 1, gun laws. What do you think about that? 2, do you think I have the choice to determine what happens with my body if I were to get pregnant? What is your stance on immigration policy? There's so many subjects that literally define who I am within politics, like define like what happens to my family, what happens to me, what like all these decisions. And like he kept telling me, no, it doesn't matter. Like, yes, it does matter. It's literally what your beliefs are of like what is right from wrong. Oh, and this one was gold. I just want to put this in here. So he knows that I work for a tech company and like I'm, I guess, ambitious for my career or whatever. And he basically told me that he strongly believes that women we have too many emotions in order to make a good decision. So women shouldn't be in leadership positions. Literal side eye. All this to say, like, it's so important to understand this topic or just like the morality before you get in a serious relationship, because what are you going to teach your kids? Like, that's so important.
emphasis on what the fuck are you gonna teach your kids? And it, like, exactly, like, I feel like I've been in this situation like way too many fucking times where like I'm assuming, because like, guys, like, once again, like, I started as a poly-comm major. Like, I took my minor in college was decolonizing literature, so it was all from like Black, queer, immigrant, feminist, like talking about like the state of the world and like economics and like, but like also mostly social issues. Like when you think about critical race theory and how that's being banned in the South, like that's what I was studying in college. So I'm just like, and then like, I'm like, oh, I know so much about like Audre Lorde and Nikki Giovanni and Malcolm X and like their teachings. Like, you know, like I'm thinking I'm doing the work as a white woman, like coming into a relationship with like a Black man to like be like, you know, like I would do, like say we ever had kids together hypothetically, like I know like what to do. Like I've done the work, I've unlearned things, like whatever. And then like imagine the like confusion when you get into a relationship with a Black man who's Muslim or whatever, like, and they're completely opposite of you. And then they're like, no, you don't understand because you're not Black and you don't understand the experience. It's just like a complete, like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. And it shuts down so many conversations. And what she's saying also about the whole, like, women being too emotional and da-da-da, like, I've heard that 1,000 times from men of all races. Like, it really doesn't fucking matter. But, like, it is crazy because, like, I feel like we have this false sense of, like, and especially also with artists, like, I find myself in a lot of, like, the underground artist scenes where people are, like, music artists. Like, they are little Playboy Cardi, Lil Uzi wannabes. Like, they're painting their nails. They're doing this, like, sometimes they have they-them pronouns when they really don't have a fucking understanding of, like, queerness or anything like that. They're doing it to be punk. But then they have conservative views. And I'm like, imagine the fucking confused. Like, I am so confused right now. But I feel like it really is, like going back to like men's political identity and like the first TikTok where she's like, they never really thought about it. Like they're not really like going through, I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of them have like these half-baked ideas that they just kind of cling onto and then feel threatened by everything else. So they just like don't listen. And it's a really frustrating place to be in. I don't know. Like, I really don't know.
I know. I think it's really hard. And I think part of it is, like, people not having, like, the education about the things that they're preaching. Like, they really just don't know what they're talking about. But it's, like, as a white person, like, I'm not going to tell a person of color, I'm not going to educate them on why they shouldn't vote for someone that directly wants to oppress them. Because what the fuck? Like,
and that's the thing, because
it
brings me back to thinking about white feminism and how like white feminists were like, no, this is what we need to do. And then you have Black feminists that are like, no, shut the fuck up. Like, no, they're not saying that, you know, like they're trying to like engage or be like, this is not including me in the conversation. And so what I've gotten into these kind of disagreements with the Black men that I've dated in the past, it's like, it puts me in this weird fucked up place where I'm like, am I missing something? Because like my identity and my experience is so completely different than yours that maybe I am maybe I'm white feministing this when I should pay attention to the other side. Like I think
it's a balance. I think it's a balance. I know, dude. Exactly. And it will make you feel like a white feminist real fucking quickly, honestly. like really quickly. So that's why it's like, just shut the fuck up. But then it's like, okay, then you think about it even deeper. Like, okay, so I can't say my true feelings because of my partner's specific race. Like, that seems a little ass backwards.
Exactly. And it's like, and I always look at it, like, in the relationships I've been in, as like, I'm doing the work to understand your identity and the ways that you are, and not that I'm just doing it on an academic level and not listening to you as well, because like, those are two separate things. Like, you know, the academic side versus someone's actual experience, like that is important as well. For sure. But like what has been frustrating is like, I don't need them to like understand my identity as a white person, because I think like, you know, people who are oppressed by white people like understand white people more than we understand ourselves sometimes. But like as a woman or like these other things, it's just like
you can't silence that part of you, you know? It's like, it's really
But they
hard.
don't even, but then you're having a conversation with someone who's like isn't even like conscious of the idea of like intersectionality or any of those things, and then it feels like you're mansplaining.
You're white-splaining.
Yes. So it's like, it feels like it's so, but unfortunately, like most of the black men that I've dated, and that's why it's like when we talk about like white men this, white men that, like 100%. I haven't dated a white man in like a really long time, but it's all men. Like, and she's talking about a Latino man. It's kind of crazy.
So let's go back to, can you date someone whose politics are completely different from your own? We're going to share a little bit more from stories. So these two are from Glamour, two separate people. So Tara Prasad, who's 25, is a young woman whose politics color her dating choices. I don't date Tories, she says, adding that she wouldn't want to date anyone who doesn't believe all people should be treated fairly and equally. 28-year-old Lily O'Farrell has a similar no Tories rule. Politics is the most important factor which informs my dating choices, she says. I couldn't date a conservative. I just don't think I can see myself growing old with someone who has such big ideological differences to me. And more from that article, Prasad also said, I don't need someone to exactly prescribe to all of my opinions. I'm happy to date people that fall in different places on the left-wing spectrum. They can vote for different parties. I'm not opposed to people that vote Lib, Dem. O'Farrell feels similarly. The person I date doesn't have to be a member of the Labor Party. They just need to have a similar moral compass to me, she says. She adds that she often prefers going on dates with men who have different views to her own. I've dated men who agree with me on every single thing, and it's so boring. You have nothing to talk about, it's dull, and I don't think you grow as a person. Dr. Christy Hewlett, a research fellow at the Policy Institute, King's College London, says that learning to disagree well is actually a key social skill. It's important to learn to disagree well with people who don't think like us, and a danger in staying in silos. And that's as true for individual relationships as it is for broader society, she says, where we really take the time to understand what people think, why and where competing views are coming from, we can start to build empathetic, constructive conversations where we can find some common ground. So it's like a little bit of a switch up. It's like, I don't date any conservatives, like, no. But then it's like, okay, well, at the same time, people that have all the same opinions as me is like boring. So it's a little bit of like an argument for both sides here a little.
Yeah. And I feel like most people kind of fall into that category. Like, I think I do. Yeah. Where it's like, again, like, I'm not jumping out of my chair to fucking date anyone conservative. And even conservative, if they label themselves that, it's a little too far. But, like, I think most of us, like, I love a healthy debate. Like, I love to disagree on things. Like, I like people who challenge me artistically, like, creatively, mentally, intellectually, academically, like, all those things. Like, I like someone who does challenge me. But it's a balance, and they need to like respect you. I feel like the 55-year-old conservative dude who's like, oh, avoid these feminists, like just go to a conservative woman who like whatever. But then he's like, but listen to her opinions. I'm like, oh, so you only know how to listen to a woman's opinions if they're the same as your own. Yeah. Okay.
Got it. Understood. Yeah, I know. That part was like literally crazy. It's like it was fake, but it was like dead ass.
It's
like
real.
That, it's so real. So this poll that we asked you guys is something that actually happened firsthand to your girl right here, Autumn. So we asked you guys, if you fall in love with someone and then suddenly later find out that they believe in politics in direct opposition to your own, what would you do? 54% said, girl, I ask about politics on the first date. 33% said, I talk to them about it and try to look past it. 8% said, I would 100% leave them. I can't do that. And only 5% said, eventually I would, but at first it would be hard. And honestly, for me, it's eventually I would, but at first it would be hard because it was really hard. And maybe I did try to talk to them and look past it. But in the back of my mind, I was like, there's no way this is going to work no matter how bad I want it to. Like, I can't do that. Like, I just can't do that. And this particular person, it was just too much. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, this certain legislation, whatever. Like, no, it was like literally everything.
But would you say that was the core of why? I feel like there were other reasons too.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I do feel like I was willing to look past the toxicity, but I think it became like too much.
Yeah. Okay.
But there were other, yes, you're right. So I guess I did try to look past it. I tried to talk to them and look past it. I opened up to them like, I got an abortion. Like, how do you feel about that type shit? You know what I mean? Because that was something that directly affected me. And I heard through the grapevine that she was just like, you know, cool, like with like no abortions ever again. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. It's like,
we can't do this.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think I talked to them and I try to look past it. Like because I've been in that situation. Like I feel like my first approach always is because it's like, I recognize my privilege in things, like the privilege in having a college education. Like, I recognize that I literally majored in poly-comm, like, for a little bit before I switched. Like, I recognize, like, the ways in which, like, I have access to education about these things more than, like, some of the people that I've dated. But, like, I do think, like, if they wouldn't budge on things or they wouldn't be open to learning, as like I would give this, I mean, there's a line. Like I'm not going down any QAnon, Trump rabbit holes, like whatever. But like if their views are in the same like spectrum of like liberalism or something, or they want to show me something, like I would listen to it. But I think like eventually if it got to a point where it's like they're not listening and like we are way too far apart, and then you think about long-term relationships where it's like, is this heading towards like us being together for a long time, marriage, kids, whatever, like that's where it's like, fuck no. Like,
right.
You know, like I could fuck somebody that we have different views, like whatever, like it's cool, it's fine, it's dandy, but like I'm not gonna like, I care about this shit too much, and like us even having a platform like this where we talk about like interpersonal relationship issues and like
talk about embarrassing.
Like you can't, no, you can't.
Yeah, you just can't. And then this last poll that we asked you guys is it wrong to rule someone out because of their political beliefs? And 71% said no, and 29% said yes. Honestly, you guys, I don't think it's wrong to rule someone out based off motherfucking anything. Like, honestly, rule them bitches out. Like, for real. Like, I know cancel culture is, like, dangerous and bad, but, like, at this point, we just have to protect our peace. Like, I'm not even that mad about cancel culture. Like, my mom goes crazy. Like, she thinks it's so bad, but I'm like, whatever.
I mean, I'm, like, not completely for cancel culture because I think it depends. And I think, like, if we just, like, keep pushing the idea that, like, if someone fucks up once and, like, we don't show room for change, and we're not going to fucking get anywhere because, like, most of us need to change a little fucking bit. But if you're someone like Papa John who literally went to, like, anti-racism camp, like, 3 times for saying the N-word and, like, still has not rehabilitated, like, we should probably cancel him. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it's wrong because it's like, this is the person you're fucking, you're dating, you're loving, you're procreating with. Like, you have every right to be like, no. Like, if it's like political beliefs, if we're talking about employment or like something like that, like, yes, that's a little bit different. Like, equal opportunity should be a thing as long as you're not being hateful towards like the environment or the other people. But like, who you choose to build a fucking love life with, like a family, yes, rule out whoever the fuck you want. And like, I mean, it's like I'm like, oh, people could be like racist, but honestly, racists should date each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not
at this point.
Like, goodbye. Like, rule them out, definitely.
Yeah, they should date each other, and they do, and they mother the fuck do. So basically, our last thing is I do want to share this example of sort of someone that's in a relationship and they do have different views, and it's from Cosmopolitan.
So this article says, despite being a lifelong conservative voter herself, Amrita is currently dating someone who has vastly different political views, sitting on the other end of the political spectrum. He's even helped me campaign for the conservatives at points, she explains. If anything, I think I've dated fewer conservatives. I remember when I was dating my first year of uni, one girl gave her opinion in a seminar, and the conservative I was seeing said, this is why women shouldn't have the vote. I thought, you're the reason so many conservatives have a bad name. I don't agree on everything with my current partner, but I don't really mind that. In fact, I like having good, healthy discussions about politics. People can and do disagree with me often. As long as they are respectful, it's okay. And Rita adds that she doesn't want to talk about her political views all the time with her partner. Ultimately, in a democracy, we should all be entitled to our own views, and we shouldn't get angry with people for disagreeing with us. I've had friends delete or remove me off social media because they don't understand why I'm conservative, but I'm still the same person. Sometimes I don't want to talk about politics. Sometimes it's just not that deep. This is like interesting to me because she's a woman and her partner is a man.
And I'm like, girl, you've had friends delete or remove you off social media and you're like, oh, it's not that deep. It seems like it's pretty deep.
It seems a little deep. But wouldn't you say that more men are probably open to dating? Like, that's so, like, liberal man-coded to date a conservative woman. I'm sorry.
Right.
Isn't it, though? Because it's like, you're, like, feminist. Like, you're feminist, like, allegedly. But, like, I feel like the other way around, like, a conservative man with a liberal woman, can you see that? Like, I feel like that's way more rare.
Even though that's what, like...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, like,
I
that's
don't
what,
think
like,
it
we
is
are.
more rare, bro. Not like us specifically,
but like,
a lot
would you
of
say
bitches.
like the guys that we dated that would fall on the spectrum of like they were not conservative?
Yeah, no,
they had they had some conservative views.
Yeah,
but I would
and,
not
like,
say
said
that they were.
F-A-G-G-O-T. Yeah, if like literally if you do one thing, that's why I'm just like you're conservative.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so like how could you even like it's you either are or you're not. Like there's no in between, bro. But there is. I know there is.
But it's like, look at like Donald Trump and Biden. Like Biden is literally still giving money to Israel. Like he's like a war criminal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so much like bad shit that he's still doing. So I'm like, you can still be liberal and an evil person.
For sure.
You know, and even when we did the episode recently, I forget sex positive feminism, when we were talking about conservative women and some of their views about sex positive feminism, we're like, okay, like we can like see eye to eye with them on some things because they're like, oh, this was never liberating because men always just still wanted to take advantage of us. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so much complexity like within this shit. Yeah. And like the two-party system that we have, it all comes down to like money and like who's funding this shit. And like guys, it's bad on both. Like I
hate this topic. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
I hate
why
it
did
too.
we pick this shit? Honestly,
because it's like this is one of the most divisive things.
Like we are really, really, really living through like historical, but like people are and will be reading about this shit like forever, and like hopefully shit gets better in like a fucking century. But I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So this episode, honestly, not my favorite, but as Fiji said, it's very important to talk about. And it's just not my favorite because it's just so depressing, and that's the privilege. Like like whatever. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up with this final excerpt in mind from the same Glamour article we've been citing throughout. So it's important to keep in mind that politics isn't some abstract, intangible thing. As Dr. Hannell says, the feminist mantra, the personal is political, is growing even more pertinent. Politics doesn't exist in the land of hypothetical debate. Governments can roll out policies which have the power to shape people's entire lives, and marginalized groups such as women, queer people, and people of color are often on the sharp end of this. With this in mind, it tracks that so many of us aren't able to merely agree to disagree with potential partners who have extremely different views to our own. Should we make a conscious effort to get out of our echo chambers every once in a while? Absolutely. But is it possible to form healthy, long-lasting, and fulfilling relationships with someone who doesn't believe women don't deserve an absolute right to bodily autonomy, or that immigrants are quote unquote ruining the country, or that climate change doesn't really matter? Everyone has to make that decision for themselves, but in my view, absolutely the mother the fuck not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like it's like you need to have a conscious effort to like talk to other people, but when it comes to someone you want to build a life with and fall in love with, it's like you have to make that decision for yourself. Like, should we judge people that are very liberal and are openly dating a conservative man? Like, honestly, I don't know. Maybe, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. But I do think that everyone does need to make that decision for themselves. So with that in mind, we're going to go into our ending segment and wrap up and talk about what we're so wet, so dry, and still maybe a little confused about the topic. Why are you laughing, bro?
I'm laughing because I'm trying to think about what I'm wet about, and I'm like, I don't
like
have
literally nothing. I know
much of
it's
anything.
laughable, bro. Yeah. So I guess I'll start with what I'm so wet about this topic. I mean, honestly, like lesbians are thriving for real. Like most women are liberals. Like honestly, like I
and then
feel
you
like
somehow managed to date a conservative one. I'm just saying, there's still
dude,
some
and
out there.
a double C, baby, double C, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, I honestly have had so many out of pocket examples that is not far from the fucking general norm. Like, I really can't. But yeah, so lesbians are thriving. Like, I'm wet about that. Like, I guess like one wet thing to take away from this is like truly the power of like interpersonal relationships and conversations. Like if you do anything, just make sure you talk to people you love and care about this shit. If they're like kind of on the fence about voting a certain way, like bitch, now's the chance. Like step up to the plate, shoot your shot. Like, you know what I mean? Like I honestly had to have a conversation with someone in my family recently. Like that's what you need to do, and you need to like use whatever you have, whether it be education, real life examples, and just try to like plead with people to not get that fucking terrorist elected, please, bro.
Yeah, same. I think it's hard, but I feel like consistently with a lot of these episodes, like I'm wet about like women right now, and women like refusing to like lower their standards and like raising the bar and like being more liberal, like all of those things. Like I really do think women are killing it right now. I am also wet about, like you said, like continuing to educate ourselves, and with this being an election year, all the more important. I know honestly, personally, I need to do better with getting involved in like local elections more, like some of the smaller ones. I need to get registered in Georgia where my vote matters more. But yeah, I think like I am wet about like our ability to still have hope in this and still like believe that like people are open to like changing their perspectives or learning or educating more, and that there is some room for that. But overall, I don't know. I'm pretty dry about a lot of this shit.
I'm pretty blind to the hope, to be honest with you. But I guess we try to put on a good face for you guys, like to seem positive. But yeah, I mean, obviously I'm dry about like literally every single thing we said for the past fucking 2 hours, however long this ends up being. I think it's just like dating is so hard enough, and it just sucks that like all of these systems of oppression that have been built in this country for just so long, and it's just like it's literally like we're all being suffocated by it every day, and obviously some way worse than others, way worse than me and you, but it's a lot, and it's like let alone like with the state of dating we already talk about with social media and just like everything. Like it's really hard to navigate and like believe in love and want to find a partner and like believe that like that's still possible, and at the end of the day it's sad that people are losing hope in that as well. So
Yeah, I'm dry about all of it. I'm dry about the two-party system, the state of the U.S.'s fucking politics, because I don't think either one's a good choice. One is way fucking better than the other, but neither one of them are great. I'm dry about men leaning so fucking conservative. Like, I feel like that is it's a scary-ass thing, and I think we need to, like, pay attention to it more, and I don't know if it starts in schools or it starts with, like, if you have kids that are boys or whatever, like, where it starts, but I think that needs to be something that we address. I don't know, I'm dry about dating men in fucking general. And a lot of this. Yeah, hetero-pessimism is real with this topic, for sure.
I know, because it's, like, literally, if you're lesbian, like, this honestly doesn't apply to you. Like,
right.
And that's what we always talk about. Like, we can say men are trash. It sucks how they're conservative. But at the end of the day, we still want them. So we can't just like, you know, like not forever at least. You know, we all need breaks. We all need breaks. I guess I'm still confused about like, you know, the whole assuming people's political identity based on their background, and like not confused about that. Like, I get that. It doesn't, just because you are a certain, you know, economic status, religion, race, whatever, like doesn't mean you're going to vote a certain way. And like, we should know better than that. But it's also like, how do you navigate that situation? I'm really not sure. Like, it's kind of just like a dead end in my mind. And I don't know if that is white of me to be like, oh, I'm just going to avoid it. Or if it would be even more bad and white of me to like, try to talk to someone. And,
well, it goes into white people too, because I think about like the town I grew up in, which is very like lower middle class to lower class, like some middle class, but like white people that are for Trump, and it's like he's not economically for you at all, but somehow they believe that he is, you know? So like it goes across class, it goes across everything. And I agree, like that's what I'm the most confused about too, like when it comes to these identities and like how to convince someone that's different than you that like this person is not for you, but they believe it so much. And like also
so if you guys have advice, comment below.
Yeah, please comment some fucking advice. But also the whole like political apathy thing and like the survival versus like, you know, like where the privilege is and like being able to like learn about it versus living it, like that's confusing. And the other thing that we didn't really talk about that I find like very confusing, like is the whole idea of like performative activism and all of that, and how much of us like really hold these like liberal beliefs as core to our identity, but like what are we doing in our daily lives to actually make concrete change? And I think then it becomes like we're hypocrites, and I'm guilty of it myself. I think like if I'm someone that actually cares about these things, I need to do that. But it's confusing. It's a whole part-time job, I think, to keep up with this stuff and educate yourself. So like being like politically active and like holding these beliefs, like I'm confused a little bit about like how we can do that better.
Hope you guys like this episode though. Definitely let us know in the comments below or in our DMs on Instagram. You can also always email us sowetsodry, the O's are zeros, @gmail.com. We would love if you would subscribe on YouTube and follow on Spotify. Even if you're watching on YouTube, it would mean so much if you could go over to Spotify and just give us a rating. It takes like literally no time and it does wonders for us. So definitely also like this video. If you are on YouTube, leave a comment. We would love to hear what you guys think, especially about a topic as complex and honestly heavy as this one. So would love any community you guys would want to, you know, offer and just share whatever you're thinking about all of this. And we hope you found a safe space in this episode as well. If you're conservative listening to this, I don't know what to tell you, but yes.
Yes. We also do have listener support. It's 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. It's currently the only way that you can financially support us if you are a listener. Even if you're not listening on Spotify, the link is in the bottom of the description of every single episode, no matter what platform you guys are listening on. We also do have creator spotlights, which we haven't been doing recently, but we'd love to do more. So if you're an artist, small business owner, creator, whatever, and you want us to highlight you in a short 2-minute segment in one of our episodes, definitely email us or DM us and let us know. We'd love to do that.
And also, thank you so much to Taylor Mushrooms for sponsoring this video. Reminder, you guys can use the code WET to get literally 50% off of your order. So take advantage of that. We love being able to like offer something that big. You know, it's super not expensive in the first place. And 50% off, bitch, you gotta be high making art projects like Fiji. But so thank you so much for listening. We will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
To be an it girl dating a man means you are ready to risk humiliation, public humiliation. Sabrina's new song, Please, 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 is capturing this very kind of new fear that women are having. It's not new, but it is new. There's always been the fear that your man is going to embarrass you like amongst your friends, but now there's kind of this newer fear that your man is going to alienate you from your female audience by being embarrassing, and then you then have to figure out what to do. We've been seeing this a lot recently where we see an it girl, she's independent, huge female fan base, she preaches about self-respect and independence and all of these things. Then we see her man going on a podcast, embarrassing her, humiliating her by either seeming ungrateful, by having controversial views on relationships that kind of degrade the woman, etc. And all this is happening while women are putting other women on a pedestal and being very ready to take that away if they see that that woman maybe isn't respecting herself as much as they wanted her to, if that makes sense. And now the way that a man treats you has become a social status among women. We're seeing this with sprinkle culture. We're seeing this with like princess treatment, where women have become to like deem a hierarchy based off of the treatment from men, which in my opinion, that's a whole other conversation. And even her line about like a heartbreak is one thing, but my ego is another, is highlighting that like the biggest fear now is actually not getting like fucked over by a man because you're worried about your feelings and your future. You're now more worried about how women are gonna see you and losing your social status among women and feeling embarrassed and less than now because of something that the man has done, you know? And I think the problem with this is that it's a little bit unattainable. As long as a man speaks, we will find something wrong with it.